basically super intelligent systems, and we have to decide what we don't do with them. That's the goal of the next century, saying no to certain behaviors, or at least saying slow down until we figured out the consequences and add friction into the system so that they arrive at a pace that we can manage.
I completely agree. I think it's
I posted it
even language being an
because it made money
and
back
the jobs
then.
that we do, all of these were made up to suit the technology.
But to be honest, I think it was only getting views because the thing I was reacting to, people wanted to watch. So it's hard to get people to pay attention.
But with something probably more profound than the way that transforms society. What do we want from this technology and from this future? And if you don't declare that, or if you opt out of the conversation because you just have painted some view of what you don't want to see, then you're not able to steer things in any direction, let alone a direction that you think is going to work for most people. But I think that that's also what's so exciting about the moment we're in. I mean, it is so rare to be a part of a general purpose technology landing in society. And we know that sometimes it can wreak havoc, but the way the world changes is fascinating. And then it changes to a point where we don't even think about it. We expect that we can plug in our cell phone to the wall or that our fridge is going to have power. Eventually it's going to be that way with AI, and it just moves into the background and we don't think about it. It's a really profound moment that we're in.
Yeah, and to kind of understand it, you have to use it and play with it without the judgment that comes from the kind of caricature fears or just biased optimistic. Like if you're stuck in one of those two camps, you're just kind of missing all the nuance because it's so much more subtle than that. And to do that, the good news is this, it's not like you have to.
I think this should be able to work.
To experiment with electricity. Like you can literally just go and like type one query into a search engine, access it on a website, download it on an app, and within literally 30 seconds, you can be vibe coding, just in natural language programming, and creating a new working application right in front of your eyes, like literally in a few minutes. So it's never been more accessible. That's what a weird thing. Like it's available to everybody.
Let me see if the controllers work
on your phone, and that means that everybody's intuition is basically as valid as everybody else's. And everyone's objections and fears and preferences get kind of like has to be part of the mixing pot of shaping these things.
Oh.
Completely. I mean, even when
I've got one other thing I need to add.
Your lived experience qualifies you for this conversation. You don't need to think you have to run and get a computer science degree because this is a very social technology. It's already here. You're used to the applications that it's going to get built within. You were qualified to step into this moment. You just have to do that. And the same with everybody else. You can operate a smartphone. I mean, to me, surfing the web, I wasn't really surfing the web. I probably would have been in diapers when it first came out. But that would have been more foreign than the idea of just talking to an AI system. Surf the web where? What surfboard? Where is this web? Where is this wave? But AI systems, they're much easier. The learning curve is much flatter. And I think that means it's going to move more quickly, which
this is easier.
It's much easier to get on board.
This is way easier.
And when we think about the workforce, I mean, if I go to a client meeting, my smartphone, my email, and my
if I have a controller, it's easier.
Things. So if AI is this next frontier, my AI agents and companions will be extensions of my professional self, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that, people are going to have an AI that learns who you are as an individual, both as a person.
It's not that much easier, but
companion side, but also as an employee, as a worker, as
I'm holding a controller.
And it's going to kind of fill in the gaps because
let's
AI
figure out the
like
controls
water,
too.
or kind of like clay. It will augment and make up for the weaknesses that you have, or the things that you don't like to do. And hopefully leave space for the things that you want to grow and develop and that you feel are like unique to you and special. And it can sort of just fit around the strengths and weaknesses that any individual has. And I mean, it doesn't quite yet do that, but 100% for sure in the next like 3 or 4 years, it really is just going to feel like having a second brain. This idea that it lives life alongside you and sees what you see, hears what you hear. You're kind of like saving your thoughts, fears, worries, experience in this other kind of augmented part of your personal brain that you can either draw on or it can proactively feed into what you want to do to make you kind of more productive.
And then it's also it's your second brain that's also drawing from all the written and oral knowledge in human history. So it is this unique moment where you become a mini superpower in terms of what you could potentially be capable of. And I think we tend to just think of email as this thing that now we just so easily accept as part of us. Everybody has an address. When you sign up to do anything, that's your email address. That AI is going to become that. Yeah. And it's just going to be this expectation that you have this thing, and that's how people can communicate with you, and that's what you go everywhere with.
Yeah, exactly. And we already are kind of superhuman by having these phones in our pocket. I mean, the phone is truly an incredible thing. But it has a large chunk of what you just described. The shift now is that the AI compresses all the photos, the videos, the text, that has been digitized and is available on the
open web
into these like perfectly formed nuggets, synthesized.
You can't really see the
scheme.
You can't see it here.
Kind of it was a search problem. Like you had to do most of the search. It was
Welcome.
kind of indexed, but you had to go. And obviously, there's something beautiful about discovering and stumbling upon all these.
It
unique
is
things.
better.
There's also just something incredibly empowering about being able to ask any question, and getting a beautiful synthesized summary that you can then choose to rabbit hole down or not. And that I think is just a weird thing to wrap your head around in the context of work as well, because it's like definitely going to make your job, especially if you do like a kind of office worker type job, white collar job. You know, it's kind of able to focus on all your work documents, what your colleagues are up to, like the entire sort of shape of your organization.
And the things that we're going to do are going to change in such
the
dramatic ways.
controls.
The way you describe AI companions and AI agents, it makes me think, what do I even want to do on my phone? Why am I taking this thing out and individually scrolling through applications? That makes no sense to me. In a world where these AI companions are operational and they're functioning at a reliable level, doesn't the computing platform go into those? Isn't that the next computing paradigm, AI agents themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think about it, you pull out your phone, you're basically looking at a billboard of logos that are trying to sell you some experience or make a promise that things are going to be easier if you engage in these buttons in this way. And the buttons and the UI were invented because we couldn't learn the language of computers unless you were running software, which most people can't and don't. So we had to have this interface layer, which was the GUI, the graphical user interface. And now the computers have got so much better that we don't necessarily need that interface anymore. It'll still be useful because it helps to see things visually and tapping things can be more effective than talking, but the computers have learned to speak our language, and so that is a profound shift. And the new layer, you're right, is kind of AI. That's basically the next operating system, and it will sit above apps and browsers and search engines and operating systems. And maybe it means you spend less time on your phone. I mean, maybe it does mean that you have earbuds that are ambiently aware, that maybe have visual understanding, that you can, sort of talk to basically most of the time, and maybe that keeps you off your display. But it's a different type of interaction with technology than we've seen.
Yeah, I think the app layer is going to get quite compressed. I mean, you can even imagine with Uber, I don't need to be watching the car. If my AI companion is just giving me an update, it's 2 minutes away, get ready. But then all of the applications that depend on that visual interface, but in a world where we could choose, we wouldn't want to look at it. AI is going to collapse all of that.
Yeah.
And why couldn't my AI agent, if I want to be tracking my runs for the week, it could just do that. I don't need some standardized application. Agent, make that for me, and you already know it is logged into my life.
Spot on. I mean, a Copilot, we're working on an AI browser, and what that basically means is that your Copilot, your AI, should be able to do the browsing on your behalf. It'll be able to open tabs, type things into the URL bar, write queries, click on buttons, process all the information that comes from that, and do it in super fast time behind the scenes. So it's spawning tens of tabs, hundreds of tabs in a virtual machine in the background, doing the kind of research for you, and then coming back into your Copilot feed and synthesizing all that information, generating novel UI that summarizes everything that you've been curious about researching or learning about or whatever. And that so it's almost like the AI sits above the browser or sits on top of the apps on your phone. And that's what I've always really want to create, is like an AI that is truly $1 trillion AI that's on your team, that's on your side, that is kind of somewhat oppositional to those billboards that are trying to kind of sell you stuff and persuade you stuff, that is like a filter that is really aligned to your interest, really looking out for what is going to be most interesting, most useful, most good for you as that individual consumer. I think, that's kind of my aspiration. It's quite tricky to do, but like that's where I'm headed.
It will be, I hope people understand how profound it is what you just said, right? We're at the moment where that app store was invented, and then that behavior happened. We're at another one of those moments, and there'll be a whole new ecosystem for it. But then also, if you were to drill down to the micro level, a field like marketing, what does it mean when somebody has a marketing bodyguard protecting all of the stuff that we don't want to bombard us with, and now you have a system that you're going to have to try to work around? So in today's age, a marketer tries to reach the human brain. A marketer in the next couple of years has to understand, how do you market to an AI that's then going to maybe take that message to the human they have a fiduciary duty to? It's an entirely different skill set.
Yeah, that's an excellent summary of the situation. But I'm going to steal the bodyguard concept. That's a great way of putting it. It's a good metaphor. That's exactly the thing. Is like, how can we make sure that your AI has a fiduciary duty to you, like it's aligned to your commercial interest? Then you can trust it to adversarially interact with all these other AIs and these other humans, and scrutinize that information, produce the evidence base, ask the tough questions. And that's what I want. Like, if I go to a doctor and I have a condition, I'm probably in a heightened state of anxiety, which means my memory is probably bad. I have to talk to this technical expert that's using all this funky language that I've never heard about whilst I'm in a panic about my own condition. I've got 15 minutes with them, and then they send me this 2-page, super complicated letter with crazy words that I don't understand. People who are lucky enough to have smart, capable family members that are free or can even afford a patient advocate will take an aide with them to ask the questions, to remember the facts, to follow up on the actions from the referral note and so on. And now you're going to have a co-pilot to play that function. That's amazing. So health queries are our top use case on Copilot.
Really?
Number 1. It's mind-blowing.
And what are people asking?
Everything that you can imagine. Like, why have I got this rash on my shin? Will this type of food make me feel bloated? Am I about to get age-related macular degeneration? Why have I got this tremor in my hand? And people are taking photos of their doctor's notes, like an entire, multi-page, report, and being like, explain this to me in language I can understand. What are the actual risks here? Can you give me a second opinion? Like, who are the top specialists in my area that can help me make progress on this condition? And that is just tremendously empowering and valuable to people. It's probably the area that I'm most excited about at the moment.
Healthcare.
Yeah.
And Microsoft has put its stake in the ground that it wants to move to medical super intelligence. So this is just the early days of how an AI could help you. What does that path look like? What is a medical super intelligent AI?
Yeah, what I'm really focused on is technologies that actually help make the world a better place. I'm not focused on super intelligence for its own sake. So how could we create a super intelligence in the context of medicine that could answer any diagnostic challenge basically perfectly, and then use that to coordinate your care either in hospital or out of home, help you stick to your diet, to your weight loss program, keep taking your meds, etc., etc. So a few months ago, we partnered with the New England Journal of Medicine, which is basically an academic journal that comes out every week. But one of the things they do is a kind of New York Times crossword for doctors. So they collect together a really complicated case study, a patient case study, and they print 7 or 10 pages worth of medical notes and x-rays and pathology reports and so on. And then in the following week, everybody tries to guess.
It's alright. It's better than playing with the keyboard, to be honest.
So we trained.
You have to get used to the controls.
A
lot more fun. It's the same game. It's just.
And it basically uses all the models.
It's not more fun. It's the same game. But it does look like a girl's controller.
So they're kind of like sort of positions that are prioritize different types of diagnostic components. So one of them will be focused on getting it financially efficient. How can I get the best possible diagnosis with the minimum amount of expensive tests? The other one is okay, what would be good for the patient here? Given their history, what are they really going to care about? The other is just what is the best possible medical expert opinion on this topic? And they all negotiate with one another and reason collectively to decide what intervention to take next. It's kind of a remarkable system. It really is it really is the beginning of something quite different. So a panel of expert clinicians gets these case studies right about 20 to 30% of the time. And this is some of the best people in the world, best humans in the world. Our model gets 85% accuracy at about a quarter of the diagnostic cost. So it's doing fewer unnecessary tests, which is one of the biggest causes of inflated spending in US healthcare. So it's we have to validate this in clinical practice. So it's just still early kind of academic work, but it's very, very encouraging. Higher quality, faster, and cheaper. That's the triple aim that everyone's always dreamed about in improving healthcare. And I think these are the first signs that it's actually possible.
And how many years before we can just be accessing the system, this team of kind of virtual medical intelligences?
Well, we actually just signed a partnership with Kaiser Permanente. We have a number of other partnerships in the pipeline that we'll be announcing soon. And yeah, we're racing to get this into production as quickly as possible. I think it's a real breakthrough.
And you can see the pipeline quite clearly, that in some ways, the future of the hospital, some tasks come to you.
Yeah.
Why do I need to go to a physical facility to wait 4 hours for something that's going to be a 10-minute conversation, and then I'm going to wait 5 weeks for results? That whole supply chain collapses, and it comes directly to you. Obviously, if there needs to be an intervention or there needs to be a second opinion, you would go somewhere, possibly. But this is an entire reconfiguration of the whole medical ecosystem.
Yeah.
Most of medicine is going to come to your house.
Totally spot on. The expertise is going to be commodified and made zero marginal cost and available to 7 billion people in the next 5 to 10 years. So the knowledge isn't going to be the asset. Previously, expertise was the gatekeeping asset that people charged for. I think it's a massively radical moment, a very exciting, transformational moment, that the expertise is now no longer what really counts. Everyone's going to have access to expertise, and that improves the quality and accuracy and of everybody, because everyone has access to knowledge. So then the real thing that's going to matter is judgment and care and attention to implementing the solution. Like you still have to interact with the real world to operationalize the testing and the treatment and the actual physical care. And there's huge gains to be had there. But I think less time will be spent just doing the rote information exchange. And it's an exact one-for-one comparison, in my opinion, to what it will be like in the classroom. Instead of opening a textbook and having your teacher essentially read out from the textbook for 50 minutes and then doing 5 minutes of questions at the end of the class, students are going to do most of their primary learning in a personalized, interactive, mobile-based or tablet-based experience come to the classroom. And the classroom will be about using the knowledge that you've already acquired, learning to debate, learning to be self-critical, learning to give way to other people. The social aspects of learning and the use of knowledge are going to become what we do in the classroom, and the kind of learning part will happen separately.
It is such a big shift. I think people might think about what we're losing until you remember why it was invented, right? The invention of the institution of education happened for the Industrial Revolution. That was a certain type of person that needed to be produced to go to an obedient manufacturing plant, and that's why we designed it in that way. And it worked for a world that has come and gone. So now we're reinventing something again, and expertise gets commoditized. It's an entirely different era that we're stepping into. And then even for the role of the doctor, it becomes something else. So an AI system that can do the diagnostics in some ways, then the nurse does the care. So nurse becomes this new ecosystem. And then what happens to the physician? The competition, the intellectual competition, I think moves more upstream. So it's no longer about memorizing what's in the textbook. I know that they do a lot more than that, a lot more. But it becomes an intersection with AI and synthetic biology and all of these new engineering disciplines that are going to converge in robotics. So it's not that the physician is irrelevant. It's to become a physician, or whatever we'll call that job, will require profoundly more intellectual capacity in a world of systems, and everything just moves upstream.
Totally. And that's the creative challenge for everybody who is a user of AI. Like, we're all obsessed at the moment with, me and the other big companies that are making these things, but that's going to pass quite quickly because we're not really relevant right now. The next phase is going to be how people use it in practice and take ownership of it, integrate it into their world. If you have a domain expertise in healthcare or in education or in whatever it is that you do, it's now one of the most creative times that any of us have ever been alive, because what we've just described is like flipping the entire system on its head, and it's very unclear what the next phase is going to look like. I certainly don't think it's going to be me and the other tech people.
I figured out these
We're
new
just creating general
controls.
tools. We're streaming the intelligence. We're creating the fire and the electricity that's out there. And now I think people are finally getting their head around the fact that it's actually going to be on everybody else to decide what the boundaries and limitations are, what the guardrails are, and how it fits in these new systems.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the printing press was to create more Bibles, and now look where we are. Like, how did that turn out? An entirely new world was born.
Okay.
There are a handful of people on Earth that are in your position right now, transforming the world with one of the most important technologies of our generation. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh man, I didn't realize you were going to go there. I don't know. I think if I have a chance of shifting the default trajectory from invention for its own sake to invention of a humanist superintelligence, one that is truly aligned to our interests, that keeps humans at the top of the food chain, that always serves us and works for us collectively in aggregate, then maybe I'll feel good about that. That's maybe I'll be proud of that. That's what I'm trying to do, because I think that there's a very narrow path that we have to tread, and there are lots of ways that this goes wonky. And right now we're making a lot of the design decisions that have ramifications that will last over many decades, and I just feel a great weight of responsibility for that.
Mustafa, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
This has been awesome. Thank you, Sinead. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and follow the show, and share it with someone you think might be interested. I've Got Questions was created by me, Sinead Waval. The show is produced and edited by Kara Kutz and Sandra Ikainen, and executive produced by Paula Pierres-Torres. Artwork by Corey Vincent at Feel Studio.
The technology for about a quarter century, and I haven't observed
We got Alcatraz in the building. Welcome to the show.
It is the $3 billion darling in the space.
This is the first AI thing that has been a mind-blowing moment for me. Triplet.com, make some apps for people.
Can you walk me through the story of this week, especially the last 24 hours? Feeling like uncertain. You know, the concern is on the AI side because since you guys last been here, they literally rewrote the agent. They changed the entire architecture, the whole thing. We're all very pumped because we saw the future, and that's awesome. Like, I think we have something super special, but going out in a broken state is a real concern. Yeah, but that's what happens. You go and travel, you come back, they rewrote the thing. It's a little nerve-wracking. But I have faith in the team.
They're doing too much. What is? What the fuck did we ship in one from this flag? I thought the another thing was there.
That was running there. The one was for me. It's the running.
This sucks. If you make me work 14 hours a day and then make me write up 501 lines long, I will quit.
Well, we can't keep going back and forth. Like, we're 19 days at they're no good names. We just need to. We're launching it next week. How are we launching it this week? Replit Agents is an AI product that lets anyone create full-blown apps with just plain English.
Yeah, on September 10, we're going to be launching our new version of the agent. We're going to be calling Agent 3. We're going to be launching a version of the agent, I believe, that will allow even more people to be actually successful in our product. Our agent's going to be launched in V1 in September 2024. Brought us immediately go to the level of tens of thousands of people, and now we're roughly in the 100,000 space. I think this is going to help us to do the leap to have millions of non-technical people. I think it will give us this new leap. And I'm very excited about it, as you can imagine.
So we're shooting a video for the launch of Agent 3. It's the first time we're doing this at this scale. Usually it's an iPhone camera and me in front of the laptop, but we think it's unusual for our company, so we're doing it the right way. How are you feeling right now? I'm feeling pretty good. The main thing on my mind, whether we're going to be able to get the product ready 21 days from today. Basically, high stakes that we need to get all the features that I'm going to talk about ready. The team's grinding.
And you take one, maybe coming mark.
Agent 1 could work for 2 minutes. Agent 2 was able to work for 20 minutes. And Agent 3 can work for almost 200 minutes. That allows people to build more ambitious projects. The agent is able to correct itself. So in the same way that we would want to work with more autonomous people, people who can take a high-level set of instructions and be able to go work on it for a day or 2 or 3, and then come back to you with a finished product that you can give feedback on. That is our vision for agents. It really needs to function like a true, intelligent, smart, compassionate, empathetic teammate, and is able to manifest your ideas into software.
Okay, I think we got a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
What do you think of that?
How's it today?
I mean, I feel pretty good about it. It's hard to tell how good it's gonna be. Everyone was saying it's great.
It was good energy, like everyone said, this was amazing. I was also saying the numbers. Like,
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounded good to say Agent 1 is 2 minutes, which is
220.
220,
200.
200.
Okay.
Are we gonna be able to run for 200?
I mean, you can run for 200, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It needs to be seen if he does the right thing.
What can happen? There's
Yeah.
like
We
21
did
days.
more than 1 hour.
We did more than
Yeah,
1 hour.
more
Okay.
than 1 hour was good. It's not a test.
Yeah. And you know, I have a friend in the military, and he tells me that every time they're gonna go into some engagements or some hard beat, whatever, they feed everyone just steak and lobster.
There you
And so this is our steak and lobster. So the idea for this week, let everyone have fun, relax a little bit, and next week just go try.
Oh, damn it, man. It's Pokemon Unite.
And I'm confident that we'll launch
We
something
get there.
amazing.
We
Yeah.
get there.
I'll throw a curveball tool. Maybe I'll get on a call with a reporter and announce another feature.
So we kind of like more Red Bull. I think when a company runs well in the sense it runs itself, when everyone knows exactly what they're doing and are self-motivated and they're excited about creating the product that we're going to be launching within 2 weeks. And my job is as it becomes easier. I don't have to, first of all, motivate people. You go around the floor and you realize that everyone is working with their publicity pretty much like any street management. Every time we debate about how we should do something, I think all of us, we are much more of an expert than we were 3 months ago and 6 months ago and a year ago. And I can sense that literally with meetings, like how much we're improving, how fast we're moving.
I'm the uncle. We shipped something yesterday midnight to make it even better. And obviously there are some issues, but we quickly fixed it, but we don't know what actually happens. So I have to monitor the dashboard the entire time I play poker on this nice yacht and figure out what's going on. We were debating what actually going on, we still don't know.
We have 15 engineers, 5 engineers, we have 5 different opinions, none of which align or agree anyway. We've identified some issues that might be the issue, but like it's hard to tell without actually fixing them.
There are 12 theories we have, and 2 of them we tried. Actually, it works, things are back, but like, if you...
Those theories were change that code backwards and then redeploy it, and that works.
Yeah. So as an uncle, I'm very happy I can play poker, but like, we need to figure it out.
We'll focus on safer changes tonight, and then we'll work on the riskier stuff tomorrow.
Is this the most difficult place you guys have coded in?
No, it's actually office really great, so... yeah, I mean, only not the office. It's not worth finding kind of asking us to say that. Yeah. I did something.
Feeling rushed. Everything's happening so quickly. 2 things about how long the agent can run. It felt like we've done enough tests, but we talked about running for 200 minutes. That's our goal. We knew it was a tough goal, but I guess the team always feels a little anxious before the launch, and I think that anxiety will heighten, especially next week when you're going to join us in the office. And then the other thing is the second product, which is the agents making agents, what we're calling agent generation. That one has a lot more open questions, and I was like a little worried about how worried he was about that product, as he was talking about, oh, maybe it's going to be, maybe we're going to announce it, but maybe we're not going to open it up, or it's going to be in beta, whatever. I would really like it to just be ready and for people to use it. It's a big moment for us, and we're lining up all the videos in the launch in this documentary, and also all the press that I'm going to be working on today. If next week, if those questions we're worried about, whether it is the runtime of the agent can stay coherent for 200 minutes, or whether we're going to be able to ship agent generation by Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest next week. I think if we haven't figured it out, we're going to be in real trouble. It's the agent generation.
So for agent generation, this is what Sophia is working on. So basically it's the agent stack.
Yes.
So what is left for the...
That's what I want to figure out.
Yeah, it's like general agent is general, and then agent generation is for non-technical users to
I understand the capabilities.
Okay, I think we're getting delayed a little bit. Let's stay on topic. We need to figure out the unknown unknowns. Let's try to do it tonight. Let's get the teams out.
I already called the war room tonight, so there will be like 5 people from the team on this.
Okay, and then we need to also figure out what's left.
So we moved to the new architecture 100% today. All the new sessions are there. It's late Thursday. I wouldn't yell that on a Friday. We're going to be on a flight on Saturday since I'll be responsible. We should do it early, sprint week in Foster City.
And then tonight we'll just focus on agent generation. But we have the designs and everything locked down for general agent.
General agent, the expert mode? No.
So we're launching it next week. How are we launching it?
Next week, we should have it ready by next week. We literally started riffing on the older designs 2 days ago.
Why?
Why? Because that's when this week started, like Monday. Tuesday we started, Wednesday, today's Thursday.
Is this going to pull away resources from Agent 3 to design expert?
I don't know how busy are the designers now. How many things are juggling at the same time?
I mean front end. We'll talk to her about
Expert
mode. Yeah, general agent.
General agent?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Logged in?
Logged in.
General agent and agent generation?
It's the agent generation, it's the generation agents.
I'm getting really stressed now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can't keep going back and forth, like.
We're not testing out the agent generation.
Well, let's do a bug bash.
Yeah.
Yeah?
No worries.
Should we tell everyone?
Yeah. Shout it out loud.
Alright, everyone. Tonight we're doing a bug bash. So we're gonna be testing agent generation. That might be the first time you're hearing the name because we just changed it yesterday. But it's previously called Agent Stack. And we're all going to be testing it tonight. So think of ideas to build, agents to build. And we'll do it in the main ballroom.
Yeah,
okay.
otherwise we don't fit.
All right. So after dinner, we'll go over there and we'll start testing.
All right,
yeah.
good. Problem solved.
Yes, let's get it done.
So sometimes I describe Rapid as a shelter for people that live in bigger companies. They couldn't find we have as much impact as they wanted, or they couldn't always work on the things that they loved. And then they found out Rapid where it's a hacker culture, we are very much driven by demos and shipping velocity, so it feels it's like a safe haven for people that really love the product. Of course, I think now that we have even more clarity on the product that we're building, of course we attract engineers and researchers that are passionate about building coding agents. Even without that factor into the question, I think the fact that everyone knows how much we love literally building, it kind of attracts, people of the same kind. And it's making life easier when it comes to hiring, as you can imagine. And there is some level of self-selection. One reason why our demo culture is so strong and Rapid is because if you assign a team of people to work on a project too early, most of the time there are 1 or 2 individuals that do a lot of work, and the rest are trying to figure out how am I going to be helpful here, like what am I supposed to do? And doing demos early is much better because the moment the core work has been done, then it's easy to find the additional individuals that can help in the project. So that's why we don't have a lot of structure internally, we don't do pods, we don't do business units, we just have teams that are very good at something. And then, kind of like in an autonomous way, people find their own way to help wherever they're needed. And it's pretty cool. Like, I know that's one of the reasons why people love to work here. Because throughout the year, you always work on stuff that you really enjoy working on. Alright, we made it to the end of the demo session. If I look around, I see all of us being a bit more certain and very, very exhaustive, so I think it's time to wrap this up. We take one day, today is recharge, because this was a crazy marathon. And next week is going to be even more intense. We're all going to be in Fossil City. It's going to be from Monday morning until Friday night, and then people fly off. Of course, we are 19 days away from launch. I would say, compared to last year, we have way more things that are actually working, that are closer to what we need to launch. What changed compared to 2024 is that our users expect us to launch things that are far more polished than what we did for AGP1. So if anything, there is more work to be done this time because the expectations are much higher. Everything that we presented during the first block today, the Agent 3 demos, all of the stuff has to land and it has to be ready last September 10. So let's make this happen. I'm done. Want to come up on stage?
We're hoping by next week to be able to potentially have a toggle on the homepage that lets you say just like run autonomously for as long as you can, and like here's a big PRD, and we'll be able to run up to 200 minutes. Somebody said that on a video that might be coming out sometime tonight. So
I don't feel any pressure.
No pressure. Yeah. But I think the thing that's more important than all of this is that it's going to be really transformational for our product and our leaders. And if we do the right work, next week we push the right way, I think it's going to be really epic launch. I think it's going to be one of the biggest things. And it's going to be huge for the entire AI ecosystem. I think we're just going to teach everyone what's possible with coding agents again. We did it before, we'll do it again. And so, super exciting. All right, thank you everyone.
I love the fact that we planned Spring Week. There is a completely different energy when you're locked in the office and everyone is here. We canceled all the meetings. We left only like the bare minimum that we needed to make the company, run. But the fact that I can literally stand up and go to ask anyone what they're doing, what's not working, I can unlock them. It gives me like superpowers. But right before launch, having that span of time where I can do that makes the world of difference.
We don't have a mic, but I'm going to just shout out. So welcome back to Foster City Talks. We are 16 days from launch. And starting from today, we're going to be running 2 stand-ups a day.
Everyone is firing on all cylinders now. The design look good, so it's coming together. The big unknown right now is whether the agent can run for 200 minutes, which is our target. It's important for us to know that we can run for as long as it needs in order to build a full-blown application. We want you to be able to like put a prompt into Replit. You craft full description of an application. You put it in. After you leave it for 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, it'll send you a notification and say, I finished the app. So it's very similar to how you would delegate a task to a person. That's what we're going for. Because that's our vision for Replit agents. Ultimately, it should feel like a coworker that you can depend on. And your coworker should not be interrupting you every 2 minutes, but even 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You could give tasks to someone to go away for hours or a day or two to do the work, and then they ask you for feedback. And that's what we're trying to emulate, how people work together.
How often do you guys debate?
I can't recall a single day where we didn't have debates.
Okay, alright, so let's say we roll it out and write it to the disk, and writing to the disk doesn't work for whatever reason. Also, by the way, we don't actually have a definition for what works and doesn't work, actually written down. The issue is that we can type test whether the matching works at all very, very easily, right?
Yeah, it's the
So stage one tells us absolutely nothing, right? And look, we're not in the business of doing like not risky things.
No. So
We're
I'm not
gonna be working fucking 80 hours.
So we should do this. But stage one could just be removing the external classifier and let the agent be responsible for maintaining the improvement state. And we can still have views on it.
Alright, okay. What do you think the actual outcome of any experiment we do, if that's all you're changing is? It will be extra latency for the user, because
Yes,
you
that's
have to
right.
through the sign-up, and it will be a bunch of extra feedback about shit that the user doesn't actually care about. They go, this sucks, and they turn off.
This actually is the same thing. As you said, stage one doesn't make any difference. It just tells you that the infrastructure will be not full.
Yeah, but I can tell by testing it for 5 minutes whether they'll actually
Stage one itself is tricky in my head because based on the experience we had with Jupyter Docs, it was very hard to.
What can go wrong?
It won't search.
We validate the cache with the system.
It's not a big deal.
It's fine.
It's fine. It is not a big. It's a very, very small deal. It's a couple of cents.
No, we validate the code. We validate the code early in the code.
Yeah, but it's the exact same thing we already do.
So it's not a few cents.
It is a few cents.
So you know that we cannot have a reminder.
It's not a few cents. In a long project, it's not a few cents.
Okay.
20 plus cents.
20 cents is a few cents.
So the reason why you don't want
It
to
was
do
a
that.
checkpoint literally 2 months ago. So it's not a little money.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go back to what I was previously doing, and then I'll see you all in 24 hours when I've moved it, and everyone's gonna be happy.
We don't even know where it's coming from. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. For once,
It's
yeah.
only if we're doing experiments that actually shape your future behavior. Otherwise, just once us abandon, once us
If this is not even an experiment, isn't this the best feature ever? You just nail it, set up
Every
rules.
feature I will
Okay.
the best feature ever.
Sure.
Actually,
There's how they all work to do.
Okay, come on, let's do 4 hours in between. Let's go.
This is advice that I need to get.
Tomorrow. You ship it, we have user Wednesday. Okay, you don't sleep, I'm gonna get you ready.
Yeah, let's go still wins.
We line ship, 4 hours, send him a notebook. If he doesn't look first, then we do the second step. It's a fair deal.
If you make me work 14 hours a day and then make me write a line that's
It's not me. It's not me.
501 lines long, I will just quit.
It's your responsibility on that.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. President. Hope you guys had a good time.
So the reason why the culture in the AI team is, what you noticed while you were working around the floor, is because I invited each one of them since the first day they joined to question my takes. And the moment that they feel comfortable doing that, then the culture kind of emerges spontaneously. I learned this not while running companies, but rather being a researcher. As a researcher, you are subjected to feedback pretty much 24/7. Like your performance is not based on only how much hard and well you work. It's also based on what your peer think of the work that you're doing. And I always thought that bringing this formula into a company, especially in a team like the AI team here at Rapid, which is very much research-oriented, would have made a difference. The fact that they know that they can tell me whatever comes to their mind, and sometimes I shut them down, sometimes they shut me down. I think that's what made us so strong. There is also another component we went through a lot, especially during the first launch we did last year, and that kind of creates a bond that's lasts forever.
It works. It works. Well, not that one, but add version, search for the integration, look at the integration, decide that it wants to run the integration.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
So it's adding a vision for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you guys have bonded so much after all these battles together?
I think it's trauma bonding.
Yeah. Unfortunately, force keeping on there. It's the only way to make things happen. Debate helps. You have different opinions, especially from people who have strong opinions, which unfortunately we have too many here.
I mean, the other thing that works is that there's high trust. There was enough trust that I could be left alone to see if this approach
could be made to work. And then if it didn't, then I would just say, well, that sucks, and then we'll explore another approach. AI engineering is a weird mixture of research and actual engineering. A lot of the time you're not entirely sure if what you're going to do is going to work or not, which is a lot of engineering sometimes, but considerably more so with this. Yeah. Actually, what else I've been cranking during Notebook Boys? It is I don't know, complete brain rot trash, but it is just you put it on. Excellent.
Agent Trees are an umbrella of a lot of different initiatives. You attend these stand-ups that run twice a day. The way in which we basically come up with the product vision and we implement it is we have a North Star. We know what we want to accomplish, and then we break them down into some tasks. We understand which team or which individual is going to be working on something, and then we build around that. That's why you get close to a launch. Gives me even more anxiety because I know that the individual things are going to be there in place, but then the main question is, when are we going to be able to connect all the dots at the right time? Is it going to be a day before the launch, 1 hour before the launch? I say that because it happens close to the best. Everything was in place, but you still have time. You still need time to put all the ingredients of the recipe together. Yeah, that's what makes this even more challenging and true.
I help the design team to deliver on all the product work, and we also test all our designs, and I try to make sure that we are all aligned on what are we going to see on the product. So the question is, how do we collaborate with engineers in general and other functions in Replit when they are product or AI? It's challenging. We take their input, we always think about it, and we test it. It depends on how much the person has conviction on the thing. In product and in design, sometimes you know, sometimes you don't know, and it's part of our job to make it work.
For myself, I do sort of a split of product research as well as interface and UX design. I would say 99% of my work is just empathizing with users. Really, all design is distilling these concepts into something that makes sense and something that's relatable to our end users. People specifically come to us because it's approachable and anyone can get started. And we have such a wide range of users who are technical and non-technical and things like that. So yeah, I'd say it's well, both designers often complain about, but also people often think designers complain about
hello.
How the UI looks and the polish, which I think definitely matters. I really appreciate being part of the more systematic conversations around how does this actually work in a system? How does the agent behave? And in that regard, it's always really collaborative, and there's a lot of give and take, particularly for myself because I talk to so many users. There's a lot of me kind of being this arbiter of our users and just making sure that they're heard. It's a good process, especially as we get to launch. It's not like I can spend hours iterating on a Figma canvas or something. I'm literally sitting beside an engineer and we're looking at the code together and the output and being does this make sense?
I've never played with Glaceon before.
So his design sort of has that. I almost want this to be bigger, and those are
Right, but it's equal. It will always be toggle on and off.
So look, autonomous is our product, right? That's what we're building. Yeah. So we should default to it.
See, Glaceon is...
No, just that. I'm saying,
is it good? S tier is S tier.
You go through the front end iteration, and then when you're ready, you go into autonomous. It is not an option at every point. It is an option at certain points. But if you want to go finish your feature list,
Bicycles be
we can even render checkpoints, go back in time to all the visuals that happened. Yeah, the any testing that happened, any image gen, anything like that. It's kind of the picture book version of this, and it's all here. It's all like that. So, yeah. So I kind of want to treat the way we did the workspace simplification. I want to do something like that to the agent pane, and just do changes like this through a flag over time, and then.
Arguably, it's more important.
Of course, it's way more.
That's we're doing more.
Yeah, and so much of the noise comes from this page. Workspaces are pretty. We optimize the top and sidebar and all that stuff, and we skip that, but the real flow is people talk to agent,
right?
Because it's such a chat UI.
It sounds it looks like chat.
This is not like that. There's no message bubbles from the agent. There's no
That's good.
Yeah, even this can change. I think.
Make it into an email.
Yeah, I think at Rapid, especially AI and design, kind of map to a left brain, right brain situation where On the AI side, we have to move really fast because the entire field is moving fast and we can't lag behind. Otherwise, we will not be meeting the user expectations. At the same time, design has to move at a totally different speed. It's more principled, it takes time to do user interviews and understand what they get from the product and what they're completely misunderstanding. They need to come up with systems, they need to come up with a good understanding of user journeys. And I think the way we're making it work here is through the demos culture we were talking about before, where I try to show the bare bone capabilities of our agent as soon as possible. Even if it's rough on the edges and it barely works and is not reliable, I try to put it up there so that immediately designers can start to think this feature might be hitting production 3 months from today. And it's time for us maybe to rethink some of the design guidelines that we have in mind. Designers are much more embedded with engineering now. Again, that's one reason why I love coming together at the office. They literally sit next to each other. You see them talking together all the time. You see engineers giving feedback about the design, and then the other way around. So that culture, literally these left right brain splits kind of showcases at the office. There is a corridor in between, and they're moving from one part to the other and working together. And it's going to be more and more important for us to train their muscle correctly in the future. Because ultimately, users don't see the AI, they see the product. That's what they interact with, and that's what has to be delightful.
The pressure is pretty evenly distributed.
All that we're doing here should work. Blueprint should work. Sync mode should work. Async mode should work. If any of these things fail, the user will not have a good experience. So all 3 are implementers. I mean, before V1 launched the day before, we still have like a lot of bugs that we cannot explain. And I was crashing my head to the wall in my hotel room 3 a.m. and like I actually figured out. It was not the day before. Like, I don't know like how many days ago. Like just 3 days.
Then on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being really trash, 10 being like on the best, what do you feel right now?
6. Sometimes it's 0. It's 0 most of the day. And like 10 some of the time, 6 in the middle now. And thinking around 6.5.
Violently crashing between 0 and 10.
Who's the 7 most fun?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're always having most fun. I'm actually probably at a 7 or 8 right now. It's good night. Probably because of the feeling.
Right now, I'm very irritable and need sleep and need some rest. Because otherwise I wouldn't be I would respond to things in a probably more negative way. It's one of those periods where everything is like at 80%. You're feeling okay about most things. You can't see things in action yet. So I can't test a lot of the things that they want to do on their local machines or environments. So that makes you a little nervous. Because they might not. When software kind of touches reality, it breaks in all sorts of ways. It's the last day of Sprint Week. Obviously, next week is beta and the week after launch. We just got a demo of running the agent for 20-30 minutes of a initial run. That needs to be 20 minutes. That needs to be 10x still. We haven't done that. It's just sheer execution. This is when this is one up. Things have to be let down. And I communicate very clearly. In many ways, I need to also get out of the way. Right now, it's just making sure that we're not straying off the path and making sure people are also quite disciplined. I'm traveling next week. Like this weekend, I should have enough confidence that if I don't, it's gonna be hard to kind of leave. But in a lot of ways, once the main issues are solved, leaders need to learn how to get out of the way and just like let execution happen, and then.
This is the last night of Sprint Week, but it's not really the last night of the launch. But the pressure hasn't set in as much as it could. As much as to be honest, as much as it will. Right? Like realistically, there's a decent chance that we don't hit the 200 mark. Right? Like there's a decent chance that's what happens. The longest run we've seen has been 15 minutes. But we're gonna have a bunch of information about why it didn't happen. We're gonna come up with a bunch of ideas. We're gonna spend a day or two implementing those ideas, and then we'll do the exercise again, and it'll run a little bit longer, and maybe run it. And then we do that again, and then we do that again, and we do that again. A lot of late nights talking about ideas, hacking them, and getting them working. And then hopefully we get to the point where we hit the 200, maybe hopefully not the night before, but potentially the night before. Who knows? But there's a term that's been thrown around a bit that you might have heard in this documentary, which is hill climbing, which is literally just you have a metric with like a hill, and you're just trying to make that number go up. How far are you up the hill? Just get that number higher and higher and higher. And honestly, like number of minutes to build something autonomously is like not actually a great hill to climb, because being slow to build something isn't actually valuable. It's just a proxy for what is the biggest thing that we can build without a user having to intervene and like getting rolled. And so that's the hill that we're going to try and climb. So hopefully when people actually watch this, the hill that they'll be able to climb, well, the idea that they're able to build will be a lot bigger than it is right now. That's the goal. That's what we're working on.
When you're running out, hopefully like Russia. You can hand out more in the last 3 minutes.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'll just keep you waiting. We'll find out.
Yeah.
You turn on the black for CFW? So that is cursed.
I know that's the point, but we've never seen this like for the time we've been testing it, only business around. And now it's happening once again.
Look, the entire path is deeply.
There's a correct way of doing it. That's how you do this.
So not that fucking hard. Just check profile on this. What we need to do is get the workspace team to create a blank REPL that has the file on it, or something in the job REPL or whatever.
We have REPL, so there are two problems. One is now we have REPL here. Another is it's getting taken back to the middle, which we don't have REPL, but I found that.
What the fuck did we ship it from this last pack? I thought the nothing was there. That test was running there. The one was fucking made.
We're going to be testing for the next.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be fewer people.
Yeah, so I see you want to do a hard
Just when you thought NVIDIA couldn't do it again and again, we're now at $57 billion, 62% year-on-year growth.
We're in the beginning of a very long-term build-out of the fundamental infrastructure of humanity, which is computing.
NVIDIA has just become the central bank for AI, and they're minting their own currency, which is compute, and everybody's got to buy their currency. There's got to be somebody who's going to challenge NVIDIA.
The non-incumbents are obvious.
Saudi Arabia is positioning itself as a global AI superpower.
That to me looks like we're seeing the re-architecting from the ground up of an entirely new sovereign state.
Since I was a teenager, I'm trying to visualize how the singularity happens and what does it look like in the last few years before the singularity, and now we're right in the middle of it, and it's just I'm giddy with excitement.
First of all, guys, what are you doing tonight? Anybody know what you're doing tonight? I know what I'm doing tonight. What are you doing tonight? I'm watching on Prime Video The Age of Disclosure. Alex, you?
I'm already well into it.
You're okay? That's right. I went live at midnight last night. Do you guys know what this is?
No.
So, Salim, it is a tell-all documentary about the fact that we've been covering up alien visitations, spaceships for the last 80 years. So I can't wait to see it. I'm going to drag my kids along with me to watch this thing. I mean, it should be epic. Dave?
Now that you say it, I will.
Alright. I mean, listen, the fact that at the same time that HEI and ASI is coming online, there's all of these, increasing evidence of, I don't know, I just think is it causation or causality, or just,
correlation.
Correlation is what I meant, yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, it's definitely tied to human events that trigger. I mean, every sci-fi movie does this. When you hit a milestone, it triggers something, and the alien.
Yeah.
just comment also. I mean, I mentioned in the last episode, given enough superintelligence, any and all hidden agents become shallow. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not big on aliens, but I'm very big on intelligence is everywhere. I really love your theory on that. But after we discover the nature of intelligence, we're going to find you that virtually anything, and it's happening all over the place. I just can't wait. Just connected. It's not quite
I think, you know, I think it'd be interesting once in a while to have a couple of dedicated episodes to very specific topics. Like one is what's intelligence. Another one could be abundance and what the hell is it and how do you measure it and really go deep on that topic for a full episode. Interesting.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking after the last episode too is, Peter, the future is faster than you think is incredibly timely, and you know, reprinting that or rewriting it. There's so much that's changed. It's just been a few years. But that book is the one on my backdrop, you know, in the podcast studio in the office, and I just moved it to the front and center now because I really want everybody to flip through it again. But it's really, really prescient.
Thanks, buddy. The next book that Stephen Kotler and I have written comes out April 14th. It's called We Are As Gods, Survival Guide for the Age of Abundance. So it's a follow-on to the original book Abundance. Anyway, it's probably the best work we've done, but I agree the future is faster than you think. I'm not sure what the new title would be. You know,
well, it's faster than you think.
Oh no, I'm not going to pull a Chris Weil on this.
And that outro today is unbelievable.
It was nuts.
The creativity is crazy.
We'll show it at the end of this episode. All right, let's
ask the audience during the episode to rebrand your books with video.
Yeah. Sure.
Or just all of your content. You know, just take, if you want to flatter Peter, take any of his books, his TV shows, you know, from For All Mankind. Take any of that and redo it through Sora, and we'll post it.
All right, guys, let's jump in. Our Moonshots episode today here with DB2, AWG, Mr. EXO. And, you know, last episode, we had so much content. We really went deep on hyperscalers, and it was a great, great pod. Today, we're going to continue on the conversation. There's a lot that we didn't get a chance to cover, and so we're covering it today, and I'm excited for it. Let's begin. We're going to start this episode today with chips and data centers. All right, here we go. NVIDIA beats earnings and has record revenues. So, you know, just when you thought NVIDIA couldn't do it again and again, we're now...
Hooper is quite fun to play with, actually.
62% year-on-year growth driven by AI compute demand. NVIDIA has announced 10 gigawatts of AI infrastructure deals. And Jensen is expecting a $65 billion in revenue next quarter. So quarterly earnings are increasing at an extraordinary rate. Let's dive into this. Dave, do you want to kick it off?
Well, yeah, just to set context for where we are, you know, NVIDIA was a graphics card company doing polygons for video games. The AI community discovered it's a very good fit for neural networks, and then NVIDIA just caught the wave and took off. But they're only about halfway down the journey of redesigning the chips to be perfect for AI. And so they can price up the chips tremendously, and there's another, you know, 2 to 10x performance gain in just the architecture and design that's still in their future. But every time they roll out an improvement like that, there's a chance for them to, you know, increase the prices by 50, 60, 70%, and the community will buy them no matter what. So that's what you're experiencing right now with NVIDIA. You could argue whether that's sustainable or not, but clearly there's more, you know, headroom in this ridiculously high margins that NVIDIA has.
Can I give you what I think the real story is? NVIDIA has just become the central bank for AI, right? And they're minting their own currency, which is compute, and everybody's got to buy their currency. I think it's extraordinary. AWG, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that party can continue as long as revenue generation continues, and I think two things need to happen for revenue generation to continue to justify the trillions of dollars of AI capex, and those are
Hooper's actually quite fun to play to play with.
Creating transformative new markets through the discovery of transformative math, science, engineering, medicine advancements. I think we do those two things, the revenue generation continues, and the AI compute NVIDIA capex party can continue indefinitely.
Part of the question is, you know, people have thought, is this a bubble? I mean, NVIDIA is just driving incredible revenues. Now, for me, Alex, my question is, there's got to be somebody who's going to challenge NVIDIA. There's got to be somebody who's going to start developing systems that are competitive. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the non-incumbents are obvious. They're TPUs for Google, powering Gemini, and if you believe the reports, eventually lots of other first-class frontier labs as well. You have AMD, you have a whole bunch of ASICs that are specialized on inference time transformer compute. So I think we are moving towards a heterogeneous ecosystem of lots of different architectures, not just CUDA.
Yeah, no, I am not buying NVIDIA stock, and I am invested in a company, Standard Kernel, which is building AI that redesigns kernels and soon chips to fit specific AI algorithms, and that's where the Google TPUs, Google has this vertically integrated, we innovate at the algorithm level, we rolled out Gemini 3 2 days ago, we immediately start designing the next generation TPU to fit the algorithm change. That's something Jensen doesn't have quite yet, and unless he invests very, very quickly up the stack, it's a big weakness in the competitive positioning. Because right now it's very hard to redesign a chip, but with AI doing the redesign, that cycle time is going to come way, way, way down. And it's not a manufacturing problem, you just have to crank out the mask. It's more of a debugging and simulation problem that can be solved with AI.
Every week, my team and I study the top 10 technology metatrends that will transform industries over the decade ahead. I cover trends ranging from humanoid robotics, AGI, and quantum computing to transport, energy, longevity, and more. There's no fluff. Only the most important stuff that matters, that impacts our lives, our companies, and our careers. If you want me to share these metatrends with you, I write a newsletter twice a week, sending it out as a short 2-minute read via email. And if you want to discover the most important metatrends 10 years before anyone else, this report's for you. Readers include founders and CEOs from the world's most disruptive companies and entrepreneurs building the world's most disruptive tech. It's not for you if you don't want to be informed about what's coming, why it matters, and how you can benefit from it. To subscribe for free, go to dmandis.com/metatrends to gain access to the trends 10 years before anyone else. Right, now back to this episode. We've got a couple more stories on NVIDIA kicking us off here this morning. Let's dive into that. So we've got NVIDIA announces strategic partnership with Anthropic and Microsoft. So Anthropic just agreed to spend $30 billion on Microsoft Azure Cloud, all powered by NVIDIA's latest chips. In return, Microsoft and NVIDIA are putting up to $15 billion into Anthropic. This isn't a product launch, it's the formation of an AI power block. These alignments we're seeing week on week, right? The deck keeps getting reshuffled. Anthropic has been, I guess, under-resourced with compute, and so this is a power move by them. Dave, you want to weigh in, or Alex?
Well, so I remember very clearly when Microsoft hit a $300 billion valuation, became the most valuable company in the world, and we were like, wow, that's huge. So now Anthropic's worth $300 billion, and a big company is now $3 or $5 trillion. And that was not that long ago. And you'll see that now Anthropic with, they have this $15 billion plus another $30 billion. That's a lot of capability, and you'll see them start to do things, and you're like, how are they getting that done? How are they getting that done? But you really have to back up and look at the magnitude of these dollars. It's incredibly empowering, this amount of money. And so, since I was a teenager, I've been trying to visualize how the singularity happens and what does it look like in the last few years before the singularity, and now we're right in the middle of it, and it's just, I'm giddy with excitement. But this is one of the ways it plays out. If you have true AGI to work with,
Kenny,
you can do anything. You can win a Nobel Prize in chemistry like Demis Hassabis. You can change unbelievable capability, and if you have the capital to invest in the teams.
Buzzwall. I've never used Buzzwall.
I'm predicting a merger.
Okay, I've never used Buzzwall. Buzzwall. Okay, gonna make some content, man. Oh, it's got like fireworks in the background for whatever reason. You know why it has fireworks? Celebration.
Between Anthropic and Microsoft here. This is really them kind of diversifying their bets from just OpenAI, and enterprise is where Microsoft wants to make sure they're reduced.
Interesting.
And Anthropic is there, so I predict a merger at some point.
Interesting. I thought, there are a lot of rumors out there. One of the rumors I heard was the potential of Google acquiring Anthropic. But you're right. This relationship sort of quelched that. There's a close relationship between Demis and Dario. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, because they're the of the leaders in the field. They're the ones that actually go home at night and play with the algorithms. They write the code themselves, and they're on a different level. So if you look at Jensen and Sam and Elon, they're very much business deal makers. And they're engineers at heart too, but they're deal makers at heart. They're not going home and tweaking parameter files. But these two guys are.
Which two guys? Oh yeah.
Demis and Dario.
Yeah, sure.
So I think I'd be surprised if if Dario is willing to let Anthropic get acquired by Microsoft, unless Google just says, we're not interested at all. But I really doubt that. I think Dario and Demis really want to stay as close friends and work together.
Yeah, I mean,
they're also the two leaders in ethics. They both guys at the core of their absolute bottom of their heart are concerned about ethics. And the other guys might be too, but they're really entrepreneurs.
That is so, Dave. That is such an important point, right? I mean, I've heard Demis and Dario talk about this is the right thing to do, independent of maximizing profit, right? This is what we have to do for humanity. And those conversations, it makes you feel so much safer in the world when you hear that coming from leaders like that.
Totally right. And if you don't believe it, read Machines of Living Grace that Dario took the time to write. It's epic. And then listen to Demis Hassabis' Nobel Prize acceptance speech.
And also the coming wave. Yeah. Okay.
This is incredibly awe-inspiring. Peter, you identified this in in abundance, right? The tech philanthropists. This is the, if you went back 100 years, the richest folks in the world had incredibly extractionary business models.
Damn it, man. Didn't work.
So these guys all have a deep ethics sense, and they all want to give back. And I think that's so inspiring. That feedback loop starts to get really incredible.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing, and I'll turn to you, Alex, here for your masterful analysis, as always. Yeah, one of the things I still feel, despite some criticism, that Google is actually always taking the long view, right? They're always taking the how do we help humanity? Their original motto, "Don't be evil." I remember those early days at Google with Larry and Sergey, and of course, it then became a real business, a massive business. But I still think that underlying current of what can we do to make the world a better place drives a lot of their decisions, especially for Demis. Alex, this alignment, this power block between NVIDIA and Microsoft and Anthropic, what are your thoughts?
There are multiple power blocks here. If you look at the larger picture, Anthropic is the last of the 4 or 5 frontier labs that doesn't have its own data center and chip architecture play. There are other stories just in the past few days that Anthropic is finally moving into data center space, finally moving into chip architecture design space. So I think, going back to the earlier discussion, I think we do move to a heterogeneous future where there are these vertically integrated players, like Detroit had the big N largest car companies. I think we're going to have the big N frontier AI companies that are vertically integrated with their own data center design, their own GPU or equivalent chip compute architecture, their own models, their own applications. It seems like we're moving to this vertically integrated future, and I think this announcement is more a reflection of Anthropic becoming one of those vertically integrated players.
And I think the big tech companies, are now in a position where they could literally take over any industry anytime they want. And the only barrier to them just completely absorbing the entire world at this point is antitrust law. And so they like these partnerships without acquiring each other. Because it achieves their goal without triggering antitrust action, and if you look at all of them, including Google right now and Microsoft a few years ago, they were stopped dead in their tracks by antitrust legislation, and it's torture. When they're subpoenaing, investigating, they give you a notice that requires you to start saving every document in email. And just that alone is just torture.
Really important point, Dave. Salim, you're going to say?
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole model here now becomes, I want to go back to the bubble conversation, because I think we're pretty clear here that we're not in a bubble, right? Can we say that categorically?
Yeah, I think it'll be a correction of some type, because how much capital is being thrown without regard. But I don't think we're in a bubble. We're aligned, revenues and values are going up in parallel.
Well, also,
I think it's a function of I think it's a function of revenue generation. If revenue generation continues to scale really quickly, it's not a bubble. If revenue generation fails to scale, it looks bubbly.
So I'll make a prediction.
Okay.
I think there'll be a slight correction as these guys do what Dave is talking about and start going after other industries, which will take a little bit of time to figure out and penetrate, and then it just goes vertical again. It's like a Gartner hype cycle.
And I think this is also a hedge for Microsoft against a full dependence on OpenAI, right? This relationship they're getting with Anthropic. All right, let's go on to our next article here. Again, an NVIDIA article, shift from GPU to full AI servers. Let's go to you, Alex. What's the story?
I think the bigger story is, for the first, call it...
Boom, 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 no. Okay, let me see if I can make content. Playing with Leafeon in this furry fight thing. I think this is easier to play on the phone, but I just wanted to try with an actual controller. This is like a very pink controller. Let's go. It's kind of hard to know what my controls was. Let's go, Eevee. Let's go. We're gonna take them down. Go, Eevee. I choose you. Attack, Swift. Oh, this is overpowered, man. In this game, you can spam Solar Blade. Oh damn. 2v1.
60 or 70 years of electronic computers, the form factor of computers.
2v1, are you serious?
Mainframes to mini computers, if you remember those, to microcomputers, to PCs, then to smartphones and maybe wearables. That's a pretty monotonic trend towards the form factor of standard computers getting smaller and smaller. It probably peaked sometime around, call it the 2000s or 2010s, but now I think we're actually seeing that cosmic calendar of compute form factors reverse itself. The key form factor of the most important computers is arguably
2v1.
like these AI data centers, these coherent superclusters, and they're getting larger and larger again. And I attribute that to Moore's law ending, as sad as that is, in the beginning of horizontal exponentiation. So I think seeing NVIDIA generalize and vertically integrate from just offering the chips to full AI servers is actually a reflection that the form factor for computing is now no longer getting smaller. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until
Is there a name? Is there a name, Alex, for what's the next version of Moore's law? Is it the AI scaling laws? Is it?
Well, if you ask Ray, he'll talk about the law of accelerating returns, and he'll point to a much broader trend that generalizes beyond electronic computers, or CMOS.
But is there an equivalent for our GPU world that we're living in? We're going to create a Wang's law or a Jensen's law.
There are dozens of experience curves. I mean, if you want to name one for yourself preemptively, you probably can.
Damn it, man!
But there are so many experience curves now, including the one that we were chatting about for the past couple of episodes about hyperdeflation by 40x year over year of cost of intelligence. There are so many new experience curves coming out of AI.
I'll make one up on the spot, though. This is the law of abundance, right? Technology takes something that's scarce and makes it abundant.
If it has to be quantitative, Salim, to get the name right.
Fair enough.
And I think the short answer to Peter's question is no, and it's wide open. If somebody out there listening wants to, it has to be simple and quantitative, like Alex said, and people have to, it has to be accurate, and it has to last a while. It's a good challenge.
All right.
For me, this was like an iPhone thing where the iPhone succeeded by owning the whole stack from design to experience to hardware all the way down, so trying to get the whole ecosystem. And this is NVIDIA trying to grab the whole ecosystem and create more value and aggregate more value in one spot.
Agreed. All right. The next article here is a fun one. XAI will be the first customer for an NVIDIA-backed data center in Saudi Arabia. A lot going on here, and I think basically Saudi Arabia is positioning itself as a global AI superpower. All right. This is part of their Vision 2030 play. Their commitment to $100 billion. They're trying to diversify behind oil. And, you know, I've been going to Saudi at least once a year, sometimes twice a year in my board role at FII. And the conversations are very clear. MBS, who runs the nation, you know, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, he has wanted this. He wants to be, you know, their goal is number 2 behind the U.S. in AI. Obviously, you know, U.S., China, maybe it's number 3 position, but this has been at the top of the conversation across the leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia now for years. And this is a massive commitment. And this also brings Musk what he needs most, which is massive GPU capability. We'll talk about that. Alex, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I think the story behind the story is, as I've said before, inference time compute and this data center, AI data center capex, this is just the opening act for an entire stack that's about to pop out, including AI-powered humanoid generalist robots. So when I see stories about countries positioning themselves for sovereign inference time AI inference compute, that to me looks like we're seeing the re-architecting from the ground up of an entirely new sovereign stack. It'll start with the data center inference compute. It'll run through humanoid robots, and you'll see, I think, Saudi Arabia and other countries probably beyond just demanding sovereign inference compute, are starting to demand sovereign compute for humanoid robots as humanoid robots start to be more broadly deployed. All of societal automation, to the extent we have sovereign countries in the present paradigm, this entire stack wants to be sovereign, at least at inference time.
Dave?
Well, there's a long history of the U.S. Needing international partners in doing biotech. We can't just try everything here. The FDA is way too slow. We roll out in Caribbean nations. And then in chemical manufacturing, you know, India just took off long before the U.S. because regulatory barriers make things so slow here. So in sovereign AI, Saudi is going to move much faster. I think actually Bermuda also are going to move much faster. They'll learn, and everyone's like, well, who cares about sovereign AI? Well, at the rate of technical change, we need a much faster process of creating laws and rules. And so I think, you know, Saudi will be a great test bed because they're so nimble. You know, they can make a decision and act on it instantly. And you see this with things like simple things like health data. Miles ahead in health data. Try to do anything under HIPAA in the U.S. takes just way too long.
Can I just tell you what I think one of the underlying stories is here that I want to just hit on, and then Celine, I want to hear from you on this, is that xAI needs compute. xAI needs a massive amount of compute for Elon's vision to happen. And they've got Colossus 1. They're about to get online Colossus 2. But if you look at sort of the players out there, Google by far is the #1 owner of compute on the planet with their TPUs and GPUs. OpenAI is next. xAI is coming in third. So this relationship has got to be critical for Elon as he's standing up in Memphis and Mississippi, Colossus 1 and 2. Any thoughts on that, Jonah?
Well, one takeaway from our trip to Saudi 2 weeks ago is I'd gone in thinking that it's just going to be a massive amount of compute all over the desert, huge data centers. It's actually much more of an investment vehicle. I think they're building big data centers to learn, and their goal is to invest $1 trillion as intelligently as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll see later in this pod that the data centers are more likely to go to Texas and then space. And Saudi will be along the way, but it's not going to be like Saudi is the compute capital of the world. It's just it's more of a learning experience, a test bed, and a sovereign, a controlled subset of compute.
Salim, thought to this?
I got nothing. This is like there's a sequence of these stories that just run from one to the other. Each one is an order of magnitude more crazy, and my brain is just blurred and fogged up with all of this. I mean, they're all amazing and significant, but the broader implications is something that I'm more interested in. But for the specifics of this, let's move on. You guys have covered it way more.
Yeah, I just, one of my questions is, xAI is, they're all compute starved, right? So xAI in particular needs NVIDIA chips, and he is getting them left, right, and center. I think one of the things we're seeing is Elon's getting access to NVIDIA chips very early as he's been building the Colossus clusters. I'm just wondering, and there was a rumor I saw out there about Elon potentially buying Intel, right? That would be a fascinating move by him.
Yeah, that's one that actually, anyone buying Intel would be a genius. But he might actually get that through the regulators, because he's not, Google could never get away with it.
Yeah.
And certainly NVIDIA could never get away with it.
But could you imagine the world if Elon was running Intel just to accelerate it? To just literally move it warp speed forward? That would be amazing.
That would be incredible. And keep in mind also that Elon's getting tons of Jensen's chips, but he also signed up for $16 to $45 billion of Samsung manufacturing to make his own chips. So that's not exactly, hey, they're going down a couple different paths, some of which are competitive.
If you pull back 1 second, the multipolarity of this, I think, is the most exciting thing for me, where they've got major different parties doing amazing things, and that means it lifts that rising tide, lifts everybody. I think that's really great.
Yeah. Alex, do you want a final comment before we move on? Or you good?
I'll just say that there is a race to superintelligence, and we're going to get abundance from superintelligence, and each one of these stories is just, as Salim says, as a facet of this common theme.
Nice. All right. This is one of my favorite stories of this week, so I want to dive into this. I care about this deeply. I know, Alex, you do as well. This is Elon talking about 100 gigawatts per year data center installation in orbit. Let's listen to the video, and we'll go from there.
We see a path to putting 100 gigawatts per year of solar-powered AI satellite into orbit, and having this be actually the lowest cost rate to power and operate AI at a very large scale. For reference, the United States consumes roughly 460 gigawatts on average per year. The average power in the US is 460 gigawatts.
The whole country. The whole country.
All electricity of all sources in the US.
You're talking about 100 being added.
Well, roughly US electricity, yeah. And we have a plan now to it gets crazy.
It does get crazy. But it's 100 gigawatts per year, not in total.
Yeah. Do you have a timeline for that?
Well, listen, Starship has got to come up and operational on a regular basis, which, is something I think we'll see in the next 12 to 18 months. And you're then basically taking compute off planet on Starship. But what I find even crazier, and Alex, we can talk about this, is Elon's plan to mine the moon for silicon, right? So we're going to mine it for compute and solar power. And I think his estimate of what he could do if he was launching using O'Neill-like mass drivers off the surface of the moon is to go from 100 gigawatts per year to 100 terawatts of energy per year, which is 5 times the total energy output of the Earth.
As I've said, the moon's had it coming for a long time.
Time to make use of that.
Time to pay up. I mean, just to take a step up, it's remarkable how quickly we moved from the Dyson Swarm is science fiction to, okay, we've deployed an H100 to orbit,
Yes.
to now we're deploying multiple 100 gigawatt data centers in a swarm in Leo, Geo, and probably soon solar orbits. The Overton window just zoomed by on the Dyson Swarm, and I think now we're moving to a regime where we have to potentially worry about interoperability between multiple competing Dyson swarms, maybe even thinking about an internet. We've talked for decades about an interplanetary internet. Now, while there were limited efforts in that direction, now I think we're about to hit a regime where we really do
Vint
need
Cerf was designing that. Right?
I
That was
remember.
another version of that.
Yeah, the interplanetary internet. Yes, for sure. Can we take?
Wait, can we go back to the timeline? What do we think is the realistic timeline?
Exactly. Let's come back to the timeline because I don't think it's as long. You know, we talk a lot about robotics, you know, refactoring construction all over the world, but that's a pretty long 15-year timeline. I think this is actually sooner than people might think. I'm a huge believer. I've been studying it since, you know, I didn't believe a year ago. It was like, why on earth would you want to reboot a server in space? But now, if you think about the cost of compute coming down 1,000 or 10,000x, is there any barrier to that? And the answer is no. There's no barrier whatsoever other than power. And power is free and abundant in space. And then the only barrier after that is radiant cooling. But they you know, we have our first 100 in space.
There's work to be done on cooling the systems. And just for a reference point, if you take into account day-night cycles and the solar flux in orbit and other factors, it's about potentially a 6-fold increase in energy density in orbit versus on the ground. So that's what you're doing. Plus the fact that you have the ability to distribute compute and bring down the answer to the speed of light. Can we just slow this down for our listeners a second? In the first phase of this, we're talking about using Starship to launch this next generation of Starlink. So Elon's already built the largest satellite manufacturing capability on the planet, right? Starlink, they're like 10,000 Starlink satellites. They're going to version 3 coming up very shortly. They'll get launched on Starship. And so the next iteration of that is going to be putting whatever the top chips are in orbit, powering them from solar. And then the biggest challenge, Dave, you nailed it, is how do you cool them? Now you can do radiative cooling, but there's no material, there's no atmosphere, there's no liquid water to carry the energy away. The heat, right? Heat is one of the biggest issues you've got. Yeah,
But space is absolute zero. I mean, it's got to be easy to create that mechanism, right?
Not